Nope, you just fire away and I'll talk. I never have a problem with that.
All right, good deal. Well, this is Burn the Ship. Thank you for being here. Like I said, the goal of the podcast is to introduce entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We really want to, meet with people, interview people that walk the walk and talk the talk in their business and have been through all of the trials and tribulations that we experience in the small business world. So, thank you for coming very much, my friend. We hope to learn much from you. I know that the nonprofit world specifically is a different kind of beast than your traditional small business because there's so much more to keep in mind. And really, why you do what you do is so important to kind of continue to push that motivation in the right direction. So, without stealing all your thunder, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce your business?
Sure. So my name is Susan Norris. I'm the founder of Rescuing Hope. We are a nonprofit that is in the anti-human trafficking movement. So our mission statement is to enlighten the public about sex trafficking in America, educate potential victims and first responders, and empower advocates and survivors. People won't fight an issue if they don't understand it. So that's why we do our two different enlightenment pieces, which is reality check for the overall general public, and play it safe, which is specific for students, middle school and high school. And then we have a program for college as well. We educate potential victims by going into school settings. We provide information for them that helps them make themselves a less likely target. We have a sixth grade curriculum called No Longer Hidden, which is more in depth. It's a 20 lesson curriculum that focuses on that. And then we have training that is specific to the people we identify as first responders, which we came to these conclusions by looking at the data. 90% of all domestic minor sex trafficking victims were attending school when first groomed or recruited. So we created Sex Trafficking 101 that works with teachers, counselors, social workers, anyone in a school environment that might be seeing signs of grooming and recruiting. We have learned that 88% of victims are seen by medical personnel when they're in the life, either at an urgent care women's center or in an ER. And so we've developed diagnostics trafficked, and we've worked with different medical personnel. We have our training that's been credentialed by Wellstar Hospital Organization as well as Georgia Nurses Association. And we've had a lot of victims who have come out of the life because of the training that this medical personnel have received. And then we do beneath the surface for law enforcement. They are trained in statute and all of that, but we bring a victim perspective. It is post certified by the state of Georgia, so they do get credit for attending our training. And we've built great relationships with different police departments all over the state, as well as the Georgia Sheriff's Association for the state of Georgia. We work very closely with the GBI as well as other organizations when we find information that we need to bring to the attention of law enforcement. And then empowerment, when we speak in the public, there are people that are all sorts of walks of life that say, I want to get involved, but I don't know what to do. So we sit with them, we learn what is your skill set, what's your reach, what types of individuals do you have in your tribe or sphere of influence, and then we connect them either with our nonprofit or another one in this footprint, depending on their interest level. And we empower victims. We work with those who come out of the sex trade, and they've either gotten themselves out or someone's assisted them in getting out, and they need resources, they need support, they need counseling, they need housing, they need jobs, they need all of the things that you and I have, because we've come through a healthy family situation and we have all of these different resources at our disposal, and they do not. So we meet with them on a one-on-one position, created an individualized action plan, and then our ACEs work with them to get them to walk out that plan. Once they attain one goal, then we start with round two until they're walking independently.
Wow, that is brilliant. Tell me a story. Kind of walk me through chronologically how you got to where you are now and what kind of started the whole Rescuing Hope movement.
Sure. So I was a mom that was plugged in where my kids were. They were at the time students in elementary and middle school. So I stepped in as a volunteer with a Fellowship of Christian Athletes at my children's middle school. And I did that for 4 years. At the end of that stint, I was invited to a luncheon where I heard someone speak, and they said the average entry age into the sex trade in the United States The fact that they were even talking about our country alarmed me, but that the average entry age was 12 to 14 at that time. That's middle school.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I had spent 4 years of my life. So I didn't see that as a number. I saw it as individuals. So started digging, met with that speaker outside of that luncheon. She put me in touch with law enforcement who sat with me. I began interviewing. The mama bear in me was just trying to get to the root of it. Well, how does this happen right here? We're supposed to be, we're not a third world country. We're a first world country. We have all of these programs to protect children. How is this happening? And through doing that interviewing with him, and he connected me to survivors as well as families whose children were in the life and they didn't know where they were. I met with anyone in this footprint. This was back in early 2010. No one was talking about this issue. And I knew as an educator, the only way to get this information in front of kids was not to tell them I was going to teach them something, but to give them a story. And I didn't have the financial resources to create a movie, although that would have got them a lot quicker. And social media just wasn't where it is today. Very few people had cell phones and in middle school and high school. It was just starting to come on the cutting edge of that. It was back in the day of the flip phone. So I wrote the book Rescuing Hope, and I wrote it intentionally for middle school, high school, so they could learn the manipulation techniques that traffickers use, that they could learn how they overshare and tell perfect strangers way too much information about themselves. And that's only gotten worse as the cell phone has developed, as smartphones came on board, as apps, dating apps, connection, social media apps. We have seen that rabbit trail lead to more and more trafficking than we ever thought possible. So I wrote the book and I thought I was done. And then victims started calling me. My phone would ring and they'd say, "Hey, Mama, I'm in jail. Can you put money on my books?" And I thought, I don't even know what books are we talking about? So I literally cut my teeth with my educators being the very women I was serving. And as it grew, I realized this was beyond just me. And so in 2015, we established a nonprofit. Before that, 6 years preceding, I did it out of the trunk of my car or
Oh,
my
wow.
kitchen table. And so we established the nonprofit in 2015. We got office space that was not my kitchen table in 2017. And then in 2020, we were back in a coffee shop because we lost the space we were in. And then in 2021, we got into our current space. And our long-term goal is to have a building of our own that will be a permanent home where we can develop a survivor resource center and an academy where victims can come in, get the stabilization things that they need, but also then start taking courses to have job readiness so they can enter into apprentice programs and have a livable wage career path. Not just a job. A job is paycheck to paycheck, but a career is the future. And it really is a generational game changer for these that we serve, because we're not just impacting them when we help them get a career, but their generations that follow.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And as you're kind of ramping things up, right? And it seems like a lot of this was kind of put on your plate based on the energy that you had put into the space originally. How did you kind of begin to, kind of form a business around the mission, because office space costs money, resources cost money. There has to be some sort of influx of resources for you to disperse and disseminate those things the way that you best see fit from a 501c3 perspective. How did you kind of handle the business side of things? How did you guys start raising the funds that you needed, and how did you kind of come about the office space?
Sure. So honestly, I went to the Kennesaw State University, um, their continuing ed, and learned how to start a nonprofit. I had no idea, so I took a course in it and then established the nonprofit. And honestly, it was beg, borrow, and steal. Anyone who would help anywhere, anytime. And speaking engagements, people would start to give. Then we had to set up a website and a vehicle that would allow online giving, because I mean, you are the generation of click a button, give my money, and then be done. Very few people are writing checks these days. It's all coming electronically. So we had to learn how to do that. And as electronic giving continued to grow and morph and change, we had to establish Venmo. We had to establish PayPal. We had to establish all these different ways. And then we had to establish how to give securities, because there are people that will give investments, but they don't want to deal with having to sell it and all of that. So they move their investments to us, and we have to cash it out and then apply it to what we're doing. All of that is beyond my sphere of understanding and background. I'm an educator by trade. So we started getting volunteers in those areas and growing out our board with people that had those skill sets, that understood accounting, that understood how to monetize things, that understood all of this. And so we were very blessed that people that just came and heard the mission and had an interest started coming to us. And then we had a staff that worked for free for years until we started developing a donor pool where we were getting enough funds donated that we were then able to start offering a meager salary. And it has grown over time, and our staff has grown over time. Our giving has grown over time. We've learned how to go after grants. Again, it was not in my wheelhouse, but
Sure.
someone who joined our team was familiar with that. And so she started writing grants, and it started small. And then we started having businesses reaching out to us saying, hey, we want to give you a grant of this amount of money. Here's the paperwork to fill it out, but you're already guaranteed the grant.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've learned that way as well.
Sure, absolutely, and that's a wonderful, wonderful place to be compared to how you started, because I can imagine it was a lot more difficult at the beginning. So, kudos to you for building a wonderful team that's made it possible for you. I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say the same thing about my business. The team that we've put together is really kind of the one of the keys to our success. So I relate to you on that front specifically. That's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. Tell me at the beginning, beyond the ability to put a team together of like-minded people that were very coherent and going the same direction to accomplish a single mission. What else would you say was kind of your most important skill at the beginning of this whole this whole undertaking? Like what were you guys doing really, really well, or what was something that you had to learn how to do at the beginning that kind of was a big key to your success?
Well, I think for me, when I was on social media personally, it was really started to so I could connect to family and friends around the globe. I really didn't spend a lot of time on it, but the only way to build a tribe of people who want to fight the same fight that you are is to keep them very current on what's going on and to inform them. So I started using the platforms that I was familiar with and almost giving a play by play of what we were doing. Sometimes it was just to inform people, and quite honestly, it was to leverage. Before GoFundMe, it was to
Hmm.
throw out there, hey, we have a need. I would throw out, I have a survivor that needs to go into a recovery program that's in St. Louis. So I need 2 airline tickets because I can't send her alone. I need a rental car. I need hotel rooms. And I'm not a nonprofit yet, so I can't help you out. And people were just throwing air miles and hotel points and rental car points at us. And then I would come back, because what I've learned very quickly is if people gift you things, you need to come back with the story, with the finish. What happened? I gave you this. What happened to it? So I always joke that I have the spiritual gift of blab. And so I will talk to people, and I will, I will talk with you whether it's on a platform or standing in line at Walmart. I'm going to tell you about what we're doing, because I believe the only way to bring a stop to this evil is if everyone knows it's going on and it's no longer the crime hidden in plain sight, but we're shining a spotlight on it.
Right.
So we would shout out with any victory of our partners. Like if we're working with Marietta PD and they do something great, we're their biggest cheerleader. If we're working with the GBI and they do something phenomenal, or First Lady Marty Kemp's Grace Commission was getting legislation passed, we're going to shout about it. We're going to push it out there. We're going to send emails to our database. We're going to let people know what's going on. And if things aren't getting passed, and they should, and it seems ridiculous, then we're going to go to our people and say, hey, if this is important to you, you need to start making phone calls. You need to start raising a stink to get this done. And so what has developed is a relationship with our donors where even though we may not lay eyes on them except for our annual gala or an event that they happen to show up at, they feel like they're friends and their family and they're part of the solution and they're using their skill set. So I think it's one of the skills that I took from when I was leading FCA at the middle school. It was find out what people like doing and leverage that for the movement. Everybody doesn't need to do what I'm doing. If so, I'm obsolete. But what can you do that I can't do? And how can it be leveraged to help us fight this evil and serve the victims and educate the first responders? How can we do that? And we've had people that, sell real estate and they're like, so what can I do? Well, I go in and train them on what to look for because they're driving all over the city. They're seeing things they don't know they're seeing. So teach them how to look and what to report. And then they've decided, when they get their commission checks, they're going to give a percentage of it to our fight because it's real to them. We've had people talk to us in that industry about how do I stay safe? I'm going with perfect strangers to places. And if they're looking to buy a property they can turn around and use as a brothel, what kind of things do I need to look for? How do I need to protect myself? And we're real big on not just asking for money. There are millions of different organizations that need money, and we're one of them. But we don't want just your money. We want your elbow grease. We want your voice. We want your platform. We want to gift to you. When a business calls or a house of faith calls, the first thing we say is, let us tell you what we'll do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because we believe as we educate you, as we step into your sphere of influence and educate you on the issue, as we give you tools, then it becomes part of your mission. And you're not helping me with my mission, you're helping us with our mission because we're all working together. And so I think building kind of that teamwork mentality is something that we've done well. Building an us and a we instead of a me
Mm-hmm.
is something that we've been able to do well. And that's critically important in this movement.
Yeah, I could see that. I can believe that for sure. And what would you say was something that you weren't specifically doing well at the beginning that you kind of had to learn and add that skill to your bag that has continued to help you kind of push the success forward? What did you learn from?
I don't ask for money well if I perceive that I'm asking for me.
Mm.
And as the founder, even though the money was not coming to me, it was going to victims or to create collateral that we use to train people. At the beginning, I had a really hard time asking for money. I felt like I was asking for it personally. And I felt like if I talked to you and said, hey, can you give me a check for $1,000? Because we have this need, I felt like I was saying, hey, can you write Susan Norris a check for $1,000?
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't sit well with me. And I actually had to sit down and talk with some people who were experts in fundraising. And they had to help me shift my thinking to realize, it's not me. I'm the last person on the totem pole to get a paycheck. I push for my staff first. It's not me. This money is bringing the dream team together that's doing the work. This money is funding the training so a young lady can get her GED. This money is buying diapers for this mama who has nothing. It's putting food in their cupboards. It's paying for a safe space for them to stay for 24 hours while we navigate something and help with housing. So I had to learn that, and I've gotten better at it. And so now if anybody wants to give money, it's rescuinghope.com/donate.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and we will definitely link the platform and the ability to donate to everything on the podcast. I actually wanted to talk to you about that briefly after as well, kind of some of my ideas on the donation side of things that I think may be beneficial to you guys. Last couple of things here, the way we always end the podcast, I know we're kind of buttoned up on time. Tell me, other than the donation portal, if people need you for assistance, is there a way to call you? Is there a way to reach out for contact information on the website? Like, how do people come and find you if they're in need or if they want to give?
Sure. So our telephone number is 678-388-9551, and that gets you directly to Rescuing Hope. And then you can dial by name or number to get individuals. You can also email us. We are all frighteningly easy to find. It's our first name. So in my case, it would be Susan at rescuinghope.com. Our ACEs, who are the ones that provide the direct services, are Chaplanda, Steverson, and Wendelin Larkins. They're on our website, and you can email them as well. The website's rescuinghope.com. On every social media platform, it's Rescuing Hope. We kept it as simple and as basic as we can. And then we also have the hotline numbers, both for the state of Georgia and the national hotline number on our website. We've got countless free resources. We're all about just throwing things at people to help them. Their list of books, documentaries, movies, all kinds of things that they can learn from there. There's certainly info at rescuinghope.com. If you don't know who you're supposed to send your information to, just email info at rescuinghope.com. Let us know what you need. I get phone calls all the time. If we get something from someone who's in danger, we do communicate with them, trying to keep them as safe as possible and get whichever law enforcement arm we need to on board with us. We actually had a situation where I woke up, I go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning to work out so that I keep my sanity. And I was heading out and had failed to turn my work phone off, but I keep it in a different part of my house so it don't wake me. And I saw I had a voicemail, so I listened to it. And it was a young lady who said, "I'm turning 27 tomorrow. I'm getting out of this life one way or the other. You're going to help me or I'm checking out." So I immediately called my caseworker and woke her up, and she started communicating with the young lady and made arrangements to get her to a local hospital ER where they met. At the same time, I was communicating with the chief of police and his lead lieutenant, and they were gearing up, and they went to the hotel that she got out of and were able to breach the door, arrest a trafficker, and rescue a second victim. So we are not technically an exit strategy organization. We do aftercare wraparound services, but we're not going to turn someone down. We will make the call to the frontline response rescue team or to law enforcement. We will help connect the dots to get people out, even though it's not our primary focus area. We talk with countless parents. We serve emancipated youth or 18 and up, but I talk with so many families of young girls, minors who are being groomed or recruited. Parents will reach out, we'll talk with the parent, we'll meet with the young lady or young man and talk with them, and we'll put them in touch with services that could potentially assist them, because our goal is to end this issue, to eradicate sex trafficking across the globe, focusing in our sphere of influence, which is Georgia. And so we educate, whether they're minors or adults. We work with families. We try and do everything we can. We know that, we are not the do all to end all. We are one piece of the puzzle, but we do stay very closely connected with the other pieces. And so we will help connect the dots wherever we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the why is so important in the nonprofit space in general, but for your space specifically, because you see so many things. Why you do what you do is really what keeps you moving forward, right? Tell
Absolutely.
tell me what it feels like to, commit to this movement. Tell me what it feels like to burn the ship and go all in and put all of your time and energy and resources into this vehicle that you have created that is providing resources to some of the most in need individuals in our community.
Well, for me, it's foundational in my why is my faith. I'm a
Mm.
Christian. And when I wrote the book, my initial thought was that that was my piece of helping, and then I could go on and do something else. And my book agent called me and she said, "Now you need to write a curriculum." And I said, "Now you need to shut up because I'm not doing that." I said, "I don't want all that I'm doing to be focused on just sex trafficking." And as soon as I said that, I really felt like in my spirit God dropped in, "But what if I do?" And so that was the day that I did burn the ship. I literally went in my prayer closet and said, "This is scary work. But if you keep me and my family safe, I'll go wherever you send me and I'll help whoever crosses my path." And that was literally, I can tell you exactly where I was in my house, the time of day, everything when that just hit. And I've wanted to quit a lot because it's hard work. In fact, there have been many days that I've told God I have quit, and He's like, "Yeah, right now, get up, get out there, and do what I told you to." So, um, I just keep putting one foot forward because, but for the grace of God, it could have been my daughter, it could have been me, it could have been you, it could be anyone. I have met with victims that have literally come from every walk of life. But the one that hit me when I was writing the book was a young lady that I didn't realize she was a trafficking victim until I dug deep into what trafficking was. She had come into my FCA every Friday at the middle school. I'd see her walking where she missed the bus, and I'd turn around and give her a ride to school because I knew her, because she grew up a mile and a half from my kids. She went to our church, and she was in the same class as my son since third grade. So it could be her, a mile and a half, two parents who loved her, great school, great church, all the things. And yet she fell victim to that. So if it could happen to her, it could happen to anyone. And I started thinking, if it was my daughter that was being raped and pillaged 10 to 30 times a night by men who didn't care how old she was or if she was choosing, what would I want people to do for her? I would want them to do anything and everything to get her out. I would want them to charge the doors. I would want them to be door kickers. I would want them to raise Cain and talk to anyone and everyone and lobby for laws. I would want law enforcement to know exactly how to find her. I would want the medical personnel to know exactly what to do for her. And so the reality is, the face of hope for me, of rescuing Hope, is that young lady that I've known since she was in third grade. Um, and she walked the same halls that my kids did. She ate in the same places. And so that is it. It could be your kid. You know, you probably don't have children right now, Bailey, but one day hopefully
I
you
do.
will. And it could be your child. And it could be, there's not anything any one of us can do that 100% protects our kids from falling victim. It's not just the kids in the lower economic areas. It's not just single parent families. It's not just brown girls and black girls. It's white girls. It's middle class. It's upper class. I mean, I've worked with kids from every walk of life that have been trafficked. And so I asked a trafficker one time, I said, "What is your number one criteria? What do you look for?" Because I wanted to figure out what that was and make sure my kids weren't doing it. And he said, "Breathing."
Hmm.
And so that rocked me. So yeah, I burned the ship. I'm there.
No, yeah, I understand that. I do. I do have children. I have a 6-year-old boy and I have a 3-month-old daughter. So, as someone in your community that understands what it is that the mission is and what you're attempting and how hard you work to do those things, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to putting this out. I'm looking forward to speaking with you more in the future and putting some time and energy into what it is that you guys are doing and seeing what I can do to kind of push the ball forward for you. So you've enlightened me. Hopefully, you've enlightened some of the audience as well. And maybe there's some people that want to lean on you that have some questions that have similar missions. And maybe there's people out there that want to support the mission the same way that I do. But I can promise you that our platform is there for you to leverage. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, and I very, very much appreciate it. It looks like we're hitting crunch time, so I'll let you get to that next call, as I'm sure it's very important to the success of what you guys are doing. But I will get this out. I will give you all the resources that I have to continue marketing and pushing things forward. And like I said, if there's anything else that I can do for you, please lean on me. Please.
Sounds good. Well, tell everyone to look on our website and join us for the gala, which is August 26th at the Cub Galleria. Tickets are for sale on our website, and it's a fun night. It's a get dressed up, come out, and have a good time with great auction things. But then you hear our message, and you're going to hear it in a very creative way this year that we think is going to really impact people. So we would love to have you there. We have a huge, big dream to build an academy for these young ladies, and it's going to take a lot of help to do it. So we would love to have y'all on board. And we welcome any questions. Again, email info@rescuinghope. reach out to us and let us know how we can help you.
I absolutely will. I look forward to talking to you again soon, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
this has been Burn the Ship.